Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing episode 5 of the Obi Wan Kenobi show and episode 2 of Miss Marvel. So, my name is Anthony Salick. If you are new to the channel, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content, guys. So, it is currently 8:51. I woke up a little bit late because yesterday was my birthday, so I kind of was up late last night. So, just letting you guys know about that. Reason why maybe this review might be coming out a little late, but let's talk about it. So, just like last week, I'm gonna be doing Obi Wan first, and then we're gonna move on to Miss Marvel because, as you know, I gotta put Obi Wan first just because we're coming close to the end. So, let's start off with Obi Wan. So, last week, how do we end last week? We ended last week with them being stuck in that little sort of like rescue shelter. And this episode, it actually starts off with the with a Clone Wars. I believe it was Clone Wars, either that or episode 2 flashback, in which we actually see Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. And just like I predicted, I've been calling it for so long that we were gonna get some sort of flashback or something along those lines, because again, why bring Hayden Christensen back if he's not gonna be used like his actual face? And we did see a good chunk of him throughout this episode. It was sort of sprinkled out in as a lesson, and I'll get to that lesson later on. But again, this is the second to last episode, so of course you're gonna be doing a lot of build up. We got a lot of storyline going on with Vader, Obi-Wan, the heroes that are stuck in the little rescue shelter place, and third sister, who is now the Grand Inquisitor, at least for a brief moment. So when we continue on, basically the whole point of this episode is that it's an escape from the Empire type thing, in which they're trying to in which actually we see the drone or the droid that Layla had was converted to evil and then ended up messing up all the hardwire. So this episode is briefly about Obi-Wan and the rest of the I don't even know if they're called rebels. What are they? They're just like survivors, right? Trying to hold off the Empire for as long as they can. And then you have Leia working on the whole fixing of the opening, because the opening was closed and stuff like that. And it was a great episode. Again, one of the things that I really have to admit about this show, not only is it good, but, I do enjoy the series so far. But I do think that the show is kind of, in terms of the storyline that they're trying to say right now with the whole, this is introducing all these new people and trying to merge that with the Obi-Wan and Darth Vader storyline. I mean, I'm a big fan of it, but I find it a little bit difficult every now and then to sort of keep up with the new characters. Like, I always find those new characters, especially mixed in with these legacy characters, to be sort of like a over under thing, where we get over excited for the legacy characters, but then we get under excited for like these new characters. So like a couple of these examples is like, like the character of Tala, right? Who I only know because, Obi-Wan just kept screaming her name when she was about to die. Like, she's a cool character, but I'm never gonna ever talk about her again once this show finishes, right? Same thing goes with like the third sister. Same thing goes with Roken, I believe, is one of the people that's helping Obi-Wan. It makes it real difficult, especially since we only have 6 episodes to be attached to these new characters, that it just makes it very, very tricky to sort of get used to this whole new situations and ideas and stuff like that when we're so heavily focused on the Obi-Wan and Vader stuff. Just wanted to quickly point that out. But so the episode continues, and basically the whole time is that we have a conversation. Actually, at one point we do have a conversation between Obi-Wan and the sixth sister, in which or the third sister. Is it third sister? It's third sister. I think I said sixth sister a couple episodes back. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. And she gets promoted to the Grand Inquisitor by Vader, and then she goes down to the rescue place and then has a one-on-one conversation with Obi Wan, and then we do find out that she was a youngling who survived Order 66, and more specifically, she actually had an encounter with Anakin before he turned into Vader, and we literally see Anakin like slaughter all the younglings. Very very similar to Revenge of the Sith, right? During the whole Order 66 event, we see Anakin kill all the younglings and whatnot. So now we just get a whole nother perspective, and also we do get to see um, Hayden Christensen's face, like when he's actually doing it, which is pretty cool. One thing I noticed, so throughout the episode, we get this sparring match between Obi Wan and Anakin, and obviously this is probably like one of the best parts of the whole series. So, a couple of things. One, Hayden Christensen's face. I'm not gonna lie, it, it looks like they try to de-age him, but not enough. Like okay, I believe he was around 19 years old during the events of Attack of the Clones. But in this one, he looked like a good mid 20s, like pushing towards them 30s. Like the face, like everything else was fine. You know, the hairstyle, the wardrobe, everything was fine. It's just that like when you really look at his face, you could tell that there is some aging within Anakin Skywalker, whether or not it's Disney's fault, or maybe Anakin could be having a bad day. I mean, you don't know. You don't know what he's going through with Jedi training and Padme. You know, at this point. But it looked really cool. I was a big fan of how Hayden Christensen was in this episode. So the sparring match that takes place between Obi Wan and Anakin is kind of like a lesson that is fully fulfilled through this episode. We see how Anakin is he's essentially trying to prove to Obi-Wan that he's strong enough to be his own master. And we see them sparring, and we get a glimpse of it like every now and then, but to sort of summarize that whole fight, it's them fighting, and it ends up the match almost finishes with Anakin taking away Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do now that you're weaponless?" And then Obi-Wan teaches Anakin that just because you're weaponless doesn't mean that you're necessarily defeated. And then we see Obi-Wan like hit him physically with some hits, and then take away his lightsaber to get defeat Anakin. I'm sorry. And it's really cool. It's a nice little lesson of like, just because you don't have your weapon, or you might be at your lowest point, it doesn't exactly mean defeat. And that's really cool, because when it came down to the last fight, which was Darth Vader versus the third sister, we actually see Vader take away the third sister's weapon. And so that's sort of that lesson that Anakin went through during the flashback, comes full circle as we see him use that exact same trick on the third sister. It's good parallels. I think that's something that Star Wars has always nailed, with the parallels between the prequels, the original trilogies, and even all this Clone Wars stuff. And this was a nice parallel. So the episode ends with Sixth Sister who gets stabbed by Vader, and then we get the return of the original Grand Inquisitor. So all the people who thought that they had broke Rebels canon, nope, they didn't. They know what they're doing. And so it ends with the third sister finding out where exactly Luke is, which is on Tatooine with Owen, as we saw during the first episode. And now the ultimate showdown is essentially going to be third sister. I don't know how she's gonna live. And then we're also gonna be seeing the conclusion of Vader's storyline as he tries to see Obi-Wan again, and Obi-Wan possibly, the way that I'm calling it, I think that's gonna be Obi Wan's gonna drop off Leia at Alderaan, and then afterwards he's gonna find out that Luke's in trouble, and then he's gonna go back to Tatooine to encounter both Third Sister and Vader, and then I think that there we'll get the final battle. However it ends, I cannot wait. One more week to go. Super, super excited. I hope that they do something very, very special. I really also hope that it's not short too. At least an hour for this last episode. I really do hope so. But overall, great episode. The flashbacks was obviously the best thing about it. Seeing Hayden and young Obi Wan sparring again was so, so cool. One of my favorite episodes, definitely. I mean, I think that it was definitely better than was it last week's episode that was considered the filler? If it was, then I mean it was great, but no, definitely way, way better. I'll give it a 8, solid 80%. But yeah, with that said, let's move over now to Miss Marvel. All right, y'all. So we're moving on to Miss Marvel episode 2. So this was actually, so when I actually think about it, I actually saw Miss Marvel first this time and then Obi-Wan. Because last week I did Obi-Wan first and then Miss Marvel. But Miss Marvel episode 2. All right. So the episode itself, I feel like I don't want to summarize it. But here's the thing. When it comes to these stories of new heroes, you can kind of tell how they usually go, right? Like the first episode is usually like they find out their powers, and then the second episode is them, training with their powers and learning a little bit more. That's essentially what we got with this episode, but a lot more. I mean, we get to see just everything about the character of Kamala Khan, right? We see her whole high school routine. We see the beginning of her love story, at least what it was seemed like to be a love story, right? We get a lot of her heritage when it comes to being a Pakistani woman, right? We get to see her religion and how that's played out. We get to see her friends. We get to see a whole lot of her lifestyle. And I think that that's so, so cool that Disney is willing to actually allow that type of stuff, which is great. Obviously, representation is important now in this current day and age. And I think that by having someone like Miss Marvel be a sort of like gateway to these new, or at least to this specific culture, I think is really, really cool. Now, the storyline as a whole is kind of really simple. It's essentially like a training with powers, right? So we see, aside from her social life, when it comes to her powers, we actually learn that a couple of things. She's slowly beginning to harness her powers. We learned that her power actually comes from inside of her, and that her wristband, or whatever it was, I'm sorry, I don't know what the name is, but that her actual power comes from inside, and that the band is simply letting her, sort of like the band itself is actually just allowing her to use it, or to concentrate it to form into some kind of power that can be used on the outside. If that makes any sense. I know it's a little bit confusing, but hey, I'm trying my best here. So, I mean, I really did enjoy the episode. Again, the show is filled with a whole bunch of Marvel Easter eggs and culture, pop culture references. Like, I believe they made a Star Wars reference in this at some point. I forgot where, but they definitely made a Star Wars point. And it's just good. It's a good show. I mean, at least for what they're going for. It does seem like Miss Marvel is slowly becoming like this independent hero. And we actually do get a glimpse of her when she saves a boy from a fall, who's about to fall. And we actually see her sort of try her best to save it. She does save him, but then it ends up happening where apparently she ends up getting like flashbacks of her great grandmother, I believe, which I assume that next week is gonna have a bigger apply, because like her cousin, or what is it? I completely forgot. Like the way that her story has been going, it's like they're trying to like connect. Like her grandmother is the one who originally got the ban, but then we see her grandmother at the end of the episode with her crush, right? And that's her mother. I don't know. It's a little bit confusing, like trying to attach all these family references and stuff like that. Again, it's a culture that I'm really unfamiliar with. I never really seen this type of stuff before, but it's really really cool. And I just hope that as we get closer and closer to the episodes, we learn more. Another thing too, I wanted to point out is that we're 2 episodes in, and we have no idea who the villain is. Like that's the thing that's been, because there's been a lot of theories about who the villain can be, right? Like some people have been speculating it could be Red Dagger. I believe that's the name of the villain, and there was like Funko Pop leaks, but so far we have gotten no type of villain whatsoever when it comes to this story. Which obviously, when it comes to a superhero story, you obviously need a villain. I doubt that they're just gonna do a coming of age story and that her next appearance is when we get a villain. But I don't know. It's like we're 2 episodes in, we have no villain, and it's her slowly beginning to learn her powers, right? I assume that next episode she's gonna be learning the origins of where her powers come from, whether or not it be a family sort of heritage thing, like maybe it's a power that's passed on from generation to generation. Hopefully we get to see more of it. Absolutely love it. The characters are really really cool. They have a lot of life into them. Like you have, these friends and her family. They actually have a lot of personality, which is really really great because it makes them relatable, and also it doesn't make them just a two-dimensional person. Like actually giving them storylines and you know giving them likes and dislikes and things like that really makes them pop out as a whole. The story is really really cool. I can't wait to see where they're going with this. Next week actually is what is no next week's gonna be the last episode actually, with at least for with the cross over between the Obi Wan stuff, right? So you guys are gonna get at least one more episode out of me covering both Obi Wan and Miss Marvel next week. Overall, solid episode. I mean, I don't even know what to give this episode. Like I don't know if it deserves. I will say they are starting, like at the rate that they're going. I am kind of worried on how they are gonna handle like her whole villain stuff. What's gonna be what's her goal? Is it to be a superhero, like to prove herself as a superhero, or is it like to prove herself as a superhero and then take down a villain? You feel me? Because like I'm a little bit confused with what the pacing is going, but again, hopefully episode 3 covers it or covers more storyline, and maybe we get a villain. Who knows? But with that said, guys, I'm gonna be giving this episode 7.5 out of 10. I still think episode 1 was a little bit way better than this one, just because at least with that one it had like pretty much a little bit of everything that you were looking for. And this episode again, it's just the learning of her powers. So I prefer episode 1 more, just because I think that what that episode brought in terms of like Avengers stuffs and her origins and her relationships was way better than what we got in this episode. But still, solid episode. But yeah, guys, so that is gonna be it for my Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan reviews. If you guys did enjoy the content, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Anthony Salick, and I will see you all next time. Peace.